Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. I have Adu with me. I've been missing during the weekend. He was missing me too much, so he said, we need to do another video. So I'm back. Hi Adu.
Yeah, I think our viewers missed you more than
No,
anything.
no, no. Nobody misses me, man.
Uh,
Ooh.
yeah, no, it's a good opportunity. There's a lot going on with the transfers, and after um the big battle between
Liverpool and Chelsea.
on the pitch, now seeing how the is playing out off the pitch as well. So yeah, lots to discuss, lot of issues. I'm sure you'll be happy to discuss.
100%. I'm always happy to discuss. That's why we do the show. That's why we do it. Lots of talking points. But yeah, since you started, let's start. Let's start with the Liverpool. Obviously, initially they were going in for Lavia, kind of like fighting against Southampton with the amount of fee they're gonna pay, playing the hard ball. Then Chelsea came in and outbidded them, blew them out of the water pretty much, and then they went out of nowhere, bidded a British record fee for Caicedo. I don't know whether it's a bit of gamemanship or what it is, but bit random. But they obviously done it, which also gave away their hand about them having money to Southampton, and then obviously Chelsea go in, who's been courting him for the whole summer, if not since January. So yeah, it was a bit strange. It was a bit strange, and then obviously Caicedo came and said, "Look, I want to go to Chelsea," and then Chelsea went across and bid it even higher for Lavia, which Liverpool matched. But even him, Lavia came out and said he wants to go to Chelsea instead of Liverpool. I do. So before I give my view, what's your thoughts on that? Because I mean, has Liverpool lost that pulling power, or is it a case of Chelsea having more money or offering more money? Because I mean, that's two players now. First one, you can understand Caicedo is that obviously he's had his heart set on Chelsea from I don't know whenever it is because there was been talking, but the Lavia one is the more intriguing one.
I think I think definitely there's a lot of gamesmanship going on behind the scenes. Both teams were in the same position in terms of Saicedo made it clear to everyone that he only wanted to go to Chelsea, so the only club negotiating for most of the summer for Saicedo was Chelsea.
Yep.
And Levy done the same thing, said no to everyone, and said he's only got his heart set on Liverpool. So Liverpool were the only club negotiating with Southampton. Now, both clubs have done or prefer to do deals where they're the only club because it allows you to do a drawn out transfer. It allows you to s- to do lower bids and buy your time and play the game of going back and forth until you actually are able to agree a deal. So yeah, it buys you time in negotiating and doing deals and counter offers.
Mm-hmm.
What effectively happened was Chelsea started to make inroads to the camp of Lavia, but to force Chelsea's hand, I think Liverpool made a fake bid. Even though it was an actual bid of 110 mil,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
still already knew that it's Caicedo weren't going to go. They already knew that, but they bidded that much just to try and panic Chelsea to put in all their efforts into Saicedo and then leave them to continue negotiating for the Lavia deal. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, they were trying to stick two fingers at Chelsea, saying, "Okay, you're now getting poking your nose into our Lavia deal, and
The same.
we are putting our price up. So here, take this £111 million bid."
Yeah.
So it is a bit of tit for tat going on. Now, for me, the whole thing goes a bit further than that. But I think I'd be interested to hear your views. But ultimately, Liverpool have shown their hand because they've been so tight with the transfer of Lavia. And you got to remember, when you've got the player sold, you've got him signed for you, he
Yeah, yeah.
wants to come to you, and you're telling him it's just finances, and then you suddenly find the finances to bid 111 mil. That means everything you built up with that player, that trust,
It's
the,
gone. It's gone.
it's broken. You smashed it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's affecting West Africa's Lavia's camp has already said they felt disrespected and by Liverpool and they're haggling over the fee. So think of clearly the strategy and the way they've played the market is terrible.
But this perfectly brings up to my point, and this was the point I was gonna make, is that look, you really want Lavia. You sold two of your key players in that number six position, right? You want Lavia. So it's not like Southampton don't know that you got money. You made 30 million from Fabinho, another 15 odd from Henderson. Are you telling me that you can't fork out another 5 million? Come on, like anyone would know that you can fork out another 5 million. So Liverpool are just haggling over 5 million for no reason. If you really want to play and that player's say is hard, like you said, pay that extra 5 million, man. You pay so much money for other players that's not even relevant. So pay that 5 million, get him in. It's just pure silly, and I think I completely agree with you. The fact that you know what they ruined it. They ruined it because what they did was they went and showed their hand with Caicedo and completely destroyed anything that they had with Lavia, and that's why Lavia is now showing the middle fingers.
Yeah, but ultimately what it comes down to is their desperation to save 5 mil has cost them two major transfers, and now they ended up panicking, paying 20 odd mil for a 30-year-old from, you know,
Enda,
Bundesliga.
egg, Enda. That's not
Yeah, well,
what Waturo Endo.
he's a good possession-based player.
18 million euros.
But he's not that, you know, he's not physical. He's not, but he's good. He plays that CDM playmaker, deep line playmaker role. So
Adi, let me ask you a question. Is he better than Fabinho?
no,
Why get rid of him then, innit? He's still 29.
no, but obviously the money they got for Fabinho was good money. And last season he looked like he's losing his legs. So I think it's more about they would want to sell him because he's hitting 30 soon, and they've got all of that making profit and making money on a player. And as you can see, at the end of the
It's,
day,
it's, oh, it's all wrong. I'm sorry,
they're
it's all
acting like
wrong.
a big club. A big club pays, you want the player, you've identified this is the guy for your system, pay the money. Do a bit of haggling, fine, but eventually you have to pay the money.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
knowing that, if a club says 50 mil and your first bid is 37 mil, you're asking for trouble. I mean, how long do you want the process to go on for before the player's agent starts inviting other offers?
Well, the
And
next bid was even, I mean, it wasn't even much more. It was 42 million. And then
yeah,
they increased it to 45. So,
yeah, just drawn out. So yeah, I think that, but the main problem here isn't really because you know the real thing to talk about is how have they become from you know ever raving about Liverpool's
transfer
transfer
policy
decay
and yeah,
and
yeah.
policy, and we were saying, yep, them and not only are City and Liverpool the best on the pitch, but they're the best off it with the way they are efficient. And City have continued to be efficient, and Liverpool haven't. And why has it changed? Something that was working, and what it comes down to is two things. I mean, it is ultimately the current predicament is Klopp's fault, but to understand the whole issue, it does come down to FSG ultimately and the amount of money they put in. So you have FSG who are not investing much money and freeing up much funds. A lot of it is, as we've always seen, Liverpool generating their money through selling players. It's not, the net spend I think over the Klopp years is quite low compared to everyone else. So that's the model. They're not really investing much money of their own. Um, so what that does is they had the perfect person in charge. Edwards is it Michael Edwards, but Edwards was in charge, and he was perfect for that because he likes to do deals in that way where he'll he'll buy and sell, and he'll get he'll drive a hard bargain and just start transfer negotiation with the player nearly 1 year in advance. He that's how he likes to do it. He runs a tight
But it's
ship.
a, it's an efficient model, I did. It's an efficient model. They identify a target, they look into his details, and then they do it.
But the model only works when it's when when everyone is in sync with that. The problem here is, and this is why I blame Klopp for the current situation, but I don't blame Klopp for the actual how it's got to here and the reasons it's got to here, is because ultimately, if your mindset is to make profit, then your mindset isn't to win. You
Yeah.
haven't got win at all cost mentality. Now you've ended up having a manager who's won the Champions League, won the league, going to loads of finals, lost the league a couple of times just by a point. You know, you've got a winning mentality manager, and he's created a squad with winning mentality. And then guess what? He looks to the left. He sees Pep Guardiola says, "I want Grealish." They pay 100 million. Get good.
Yeah.
I want Haaland. They pay the. He gets to choose which players he wants. He wants Guardiola.
Gets him.
Yeah. Uh, the sporting director will get him. He looks to the right now. United doing the same thing. Um, Whoever Ten Hag wants, he's getting. They want Anthony, they're getting Anthony. They want Martinez, they're paying the bucks. They're getting the players the manager wants. That's how much the sporting director and the club trust the manager, because in Pep's case, he's proven it. He already came with the credential. In Ten Hag's case, he impressed from the day off, and they realized they've got a special manager, and they straight away trusted his opinion. You look at Arteta. Why are they a forward-moving club? The link between Edu and Arteta is close.
Sync.
When Arteta wants to, Edu and Arteta, yeah. So whenever Arteta wants to get rid of a player, Edu makes sure, even if it costs them, they'll get rid of him. They won't look for the money. They'll get if they think it's.
They'll find the best solution for him.
And then when he says he really wants a certain player, they go and get that certain player within their parameter.
Mhm.
So that's fine. You're Klopp seeing all of this going on around him, and then he's thinking, why the heck am I always haggling for my first choices and accepting second and third choices? How come this Edwards guy calls all the shots?
Mhm.
So it wasn't working because ultimately you have a guy who's been revered for making the club profit and getting cheap alternatives and finding these nuggets like Salanda. So he's good at what he's doing. But ultimately, you got a winning manager who wants to win now. He doesn't want those projects now. He wants ready-made players. He wants the guys he's tapped up.
Yeah, yeah.
He's seen everyone else getting them. He's seen Pep's one stuff and getting his way. And then you got Arteta and Ten Hag. They haven't even won anything big, and they're getting everything all the players they want. So he's thinking, why am I? So he made a big deal. Edwards decided to leave, and then they got Julian Ward in. The same thing happened. He wasn't happy because why? Julian Ward was a disciple of Edwards, doing the same type of thing,
Similar
but
job,
he
yeah.
tried working with Klopp a bit more. He tried, but they were still ultimately tight with the purse strings. They don't got that killer mentality where if Klopp says, "I really, really want this player," like he did with Van Dijk, they will continually back him and just say, "Okay, we'll pay over the odds
Yeah.
because we thank you so much." He hasn't got that status. So
But
then,
why? Why? Why is I mean, that's going to be a massive
yeah,
question. Why? Because
that's the so he's asked that question, he's put that pressure on, and because of that, Julian Ward has left because the relationship broke down. Ultimately, he's demanding, you don't need to back me. So, and I don't like the way these guys operate. They have too much of their own ideas. I want to call the shots, which I think is fair enough. He wants a sporting director who's working for him, not suggesting players to
yeah,
him. So that he wanted that same power and control that He's seen all that the top managers get in, and that's it. So junior award leaves, and now what do they have? They get someone from German league that he
Germany.
knows, and now you have this problem where he can't get the deals to for the players that he wants because ultimately the club has not changed in its stance when it comes to the budget that it gives its sporting directors to invest in players.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, the real problem is FSG because they don't give enough money. They did have a system that worked with their mindset of how they want to run the club. It no longer matches the ambitions of a winning mentality manager and a club that wants to win right now. That whole project, the way they want to do things, get Ben Doak, get Elliot in, integrate them into the that ain't gonna win you, keep you sustained
No, no.
thinking
But
success.
Adi, then
One of the reasons why they dropped off.
then my also question comes then. It is partly to do with Klopp's fault as well because you know the financial offerings of your board members or what they're gonna give you, right? So you get this guy who's gonna do what you want. Essentially, he can't do what you want because he's not gonna have the fun to do that. So would you not rather have someone else who's maybe not gonna go and get your first choice, but is gonna get you a good alternative to it, rather than end up with someone like Waturo Endo? Do you know what I'm trying
Well,
to say?
I get what you're saying, but I just think at the end of the day, why the heck is Klopp having to put up with that? You go look at the market. He's looking all around him, and he's seen. Hold on, I've made this club more money than any of the others. I've kept us competing. I've kept us challenging. Now can I have some support? Because at the end of the day, and this is what it comes down to. Look at the numbers everyone else is spending.
Mhm.
You can't even have that approach anymore if you want to be top four. Let's be realistic here.
No,
How are you
no,
going to stay in the top four if you're not spending 150 million every summer now?
you have to minimum.
Everyone's doing it. Everyone's earning. You got the newly promoted teams spending.
Listen, you got Nottingham Forest getting 23 players, and now he's Steve Cooper's asking for even more players.
Yeah, every single club, and then you got teams like Brighton being smart. You got teams like Aston Villa investing money. You got now Newcastle on the scene. You need to back your manager. You need to pull the money out. You need to support. If you don't have it, you're not going to survive anymore. So Klopp was able to compete, and Liverpool were able to compete when there wasn't so much money and there wasn't so many clubs going for it. And now you look at every single club. I was looking at the other day. You can hands on heart say nearly every club has done really well in the transfer market this summer.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not many you can criticize clubs that haven't done much business. But those clubs that have done business, they're all buying quality players.
Good players, yeah. That
You know,
improves every single one
one
improves
of
their squad.
yeah, and this is the thing. The whole of Europe always had an upper hand on the British clubs when it came to scouting, when it comes to transfer negotiating, when it comes to finding talent, getting them in young. Guess what? The British clubs are now all caught up. They're doing the exact same stuff. They're nicking all the best youngsters that maybe only Benfica, Porto, and Ajax, and all these clubs. Now the British clubs are going for them. And then guess what? They're tapping up players at a younger, 1 year beforehand. They're getting more reasonable transfer prices. They're getting quality unknown talent now. Why? Because the scouting, the whole infrastructure, they've taken the infrastructure from the best clubs and they implemented it in their own.
I think they've taken it to the next level with regards to in the Premier League and the amount they're spending into their scouting and
Well,
their academies, etc.
well, the next level is the amount of money that they have to invest in it. But ultimately, it's no longer clubs wasting money on dead talent. What United were doing 3, 4 years ago, spending crazy money on a player that's just had a great World Cup or a great summer and hasn't got that background of evidence or sustained
Yeah.
quality. That don't happen anymore. These marquee, emotional side that, but it's very considered, very strategic, very much fitted in with the system. You don't get too many transfer mistakes. So
No,
Liverpool have not adapted to the demands of the club that this is a winning club. This is a club that's going for a title. It's a manager that's only wants to go for title. Why would we be happy to only go for top four and when he's already beaten Pep and everyone's talking about Pep being the best in the world and the greatest and he's thinking, hold on a minute, with limited funds, I've won a Champions League, I've lost two finals, I've won the Premier League, and I've lost two on the last day. The
mm,
way he sees it is, if I had even another 10% of support that Pep's got, everyone would be talking to about me in the same way that I'm one of the greatest managers ever. No one does. They
no,
say he's a great manager. They're just putting but you think about it, does he have the support? Does he have the club backing? Does he have the money?
no.
So yeah, he has made the whole system worse because of the changes he's demanded and it hasn't worked out. But the root of the cause and the problem comes down to FSG not
But
investing
I,
enough
I,
money.
I get you, but also, do you think they really need? Like, I'm gonna go back to a couple of things. Do they really need six strikers? And then playing with four of them because you know what, he can't drop any of them. He can't make the big call because you know what, I know United might have got Gapco in the summer or whatever, and they went and got him for a good price. But your priority was a midfield or a midfielder, so you're using that money to get another attacker essentially. But you could have potentially used that to get the midfielder that you need. Are they wasting a lot of money on those areas where it's less important? Do you reckon?
Ultimately, you can say, yeah,
Because I think that's a misuse then. Because if your priority is that midfield and you can see it, and you're not prioritizing that, that's on
thing
you.
is, I think what it is let's look at the way Liverpool operate. They brought all those attackers because they knew they were gonna, their club that ain't gonna let a player retire at the club. They'll sell if they can get 5 million out of a player, they'll rather sell it, even if it's a legend. We've seen that this summer, that's proven what we already thought privately, that they're that tight with their money that they'll rather sell a legend. So there's no idea that Salah will finish his career with Liverpool.
No.
They'll sell him next year. So I think a lot of the signings, the forward signings they're doing, was already in preparation to get rid of Mane, to get rid of Fabinho, to get rid of Salah eventually, to get rid of Henderson and Fabinho. So that's why ultimately the only one they probably done a year earlier than planned is Fabinho. I don't think they were really planning on Fabinho. That's why they hadn't got the replacement for him in the door. But Sabulai is already, you can tell, they signed him with the view he's going to be Henderson's replacement. And they didn't mind because they had the replacement in the door. They didn't mind letting go of
Yeah,
Henderson.
yeah.
The one that really made it difficult was Fabinho because one, they didn't get the replacement in the door. And obviously, with Henderson, if a bid never came down, they'd be happy to keep him for 1 year, but guaranteed the year after they're selling them. That's
Yeah.
why they're getting the replacements in. That's how they operate. So, yeah, you could say they're buying all their attackers, but they were trying to do that thing
No, I
again.
look, I get it, and
One step ahead
I
of the
agree with you. But
market.
what I'm saying is they
One
could
season.
they could have pushed it 6 months later and still got him, but solidify what's needed more
But,
priority. Because
it
even
just
last
shows
year during January we were saying they were lacking in midfield. Now, if you're lacking in midfield, and if that's an area of concern or huge concern, then you sort that out first. Push that other peg down the line. I know, like you have to
yeah, but
sometimes push the long term back for the short term.
if you look at it from the other point of view, which is, I agree with what you're saying, but
Yeah,
I do think they were doing it, but I just think they realized Henderson is older than Fabinho. Let's get the replacement for Henderson in first. Thiago is older than Fabinho. Let's get the replacement for Thiago in first.
mm,
Hence why they went for the Gakpos, they went for the Zabulais, because the priority was replace Fabinho and Henderson and Thiago first. At least with Fabinho, he's still 29. So I do think, yeah, it is mismanagement because they're taking a risk on a player that struggled the season before. They haven't really got adequate cover, especially with Bajcetic getting injured. So I think that's yeah,
And
it's a
and
risk.
it showed in the Chelsea game. I do imagine Chelsea had got the Caicedo deal done. I mean, Liverpool would have been walked over all over the place. Even without Caicedo, they got walked over.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And this is the thing. I mean, even I'm shocked they still haven't even strengthened in defense. I still think they're a central defender. Sure, outside of the midfield issue, the defending of the centre backs wasn't great either. Jackson gave them a hard time on his own without much support, in my opinion, from Sterling or Chukwuemeka. So, this is one defender running your whole backline ragged, and one
One
striker
striker.
running your whole, you know, that's another area of concern. So yeah, there is an issue there with them constantly prioritizing the attacking positions, but clearly they think that's their recipe to success. That as long as we have an awesome attack, we can cover the issues of our defense by outscoring the opposition.
I think Premier League has moved on so much now, from where
Yeah,
it was before, where teams maybe didn't have the capabilities or the players to beat that press or beat that initial first press that they do. But now the players and the quality they have, Trent leaves that gap. They're exploiting it. These teams are good enough. That right back can ping that ball right in behind where Van Dijk can't go out.
but
So
and
and
the other thing
it's
is
been
that
proven.
the other thing is you've taken the engine from the Liverpool press. The
Yeah.
Liverpool press ain't as good. A few years ago when they're winning the titles and the Champions League, who are the best pressers in the team? We would say Henderson,
Wijnaldum.
Mane, and Ronaldo. They're all out the team.
Yeah.
They've lost their engine. The guys who are coming in don't have the physicality of those players.
I don't think they had the intensity.
Like gonna take
Not
some of
not
it.
that
He'll,
intensity.
he'll, he'll press with intensity, but he ain't got the power and strength yet of those players that have gone. No has Cody Gakpo, no has Luis Diaz. So they may be phenomenal players, but no midfield's gonna be scared about getting clattered by them three.
Mhm.
If anything,
I,
them three
I
gonna
do
be
I do I
worried
do
about
think
getting injured going into.
I do think Szoboszlai does have some great physical attributes that I think he'll need a bit of time to get used to, but you'll see it fruition.
Yeah, he's got the intensity, the pace. He he's played more in the midfield. He ain't afraid to go into tackle.
No,
He's not with Nando. He's not Henderson. He's not
no.
Mane. He hasn't got that power yet that those have. The other two definitely don't have it.
I mean, I don't think McAllister does.
Yeah, well, McAllister does get stuck in, but he's just too
But
slow to be.
it's more clean, isn't it? It's more clean, I think.
Yeah.
It's rather intercept than it's a bit like Thiago, isn't it?
I don't know. I have seen him tackle and everything, but again, it's a lot slow. It's not the Liverpool intensity. There's a
So so
different
so
level.
so then again, so then that's it, isn't it? So then you're not getting the right players to, and then obviously you're getting Ender in, who's I can't even pronounce this guy's name. You know what? Forgive me.
Okay, Joe, but
Keep calling him
like
Ender,
you're
man.
going for a player.
Waturu. I'm gonna
He
call
is
him
a good
Waturu. I'm
player.
just gonna call him Waturu. Okay. You're getting Waturu in, who you're saying is good on the ball, keeps possession. I mean, I've seen him. He plays centre back
He's a
sometimes as
one-two
well.
touch football guy. He just
Yeah,
keeps the
so
ball
he's.
rolling,
I
keeps the
mean,
ball going.
then you're getting similar to someone like Thiago. So who's going to be that destroyer? Who's gonna,
I don't
with
think he's a lot more simpler. Like he just keeps the ball flowing. He's a bit more like the Lavia style.
Mhm.
In terms of on the ball, he'll get but again, and he does dictate it by just always showing himself and just popping it to the next player. You know, he's very clean in that sense. Uh,
And
it,
look at the
but
age profile.
he's
Look
not
at the age
potential
profile
one.
as well. 30. 30.
I
I mean,
forget, but I mean the main thing is, come on, you're going for Saicedo and Lavia. That would excite any team because they've played against those players, seen their quality. You've seen the quality. You're gonna who's gonna get excited by Ender or
two.
Aturu? You know, it ain't gonna really. And then it just feels like his Klopp is so desperate to get that deep line playmaker that that I don't even know if they really need that type of playmaker at the base. That's how I was anyway surprised at Lavia. Not that he's not a good player, but you know, do they
He,
really play like that? I don't know.
he likes to
I
dribble a bit
always
more. He
felt
likes
like
to beat that press a bit more.
yeah,
And he's not
but
much
it
of a
always
dig.
felt like Fabinho needed to be a bit physical in there
Yeah.
and big. Like you always feel like they need someone big who can recycle the ball. So I was questioning that, but they obviously. But this is like, doesn't it remind you of 12 months ago, the panic and going for Arthur
Yeah, yeah,
this
literally.
year?
But I
So
mean, they could. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I really like what's his name? PSV man, PSV CDM. I think he could.
Verratti,
No, no, no.
Verratti Pereira,
Sangara, Ibrahim Sangara.
PSV, sorry,
PSV,
Sangare.
yeah, yeah. I think he could do a good role in there. Maybe obviously not to that standard, but at the moment, I mean, he'll definitely do a better job than Waturo.
Yeah.
Or even
I don't,
I know he hasn't shown much, but even someone like maybe Decore from Crystal Palace.
yeah, or even a
He's
Gravenberch.
he's got that intensity, right?
Yeah.
Decore. Maybe not that great on the ball, but intensity and that physical ability there. So
So yeah, they're clearly going for a playmaker who can dictate the play more than a CDM,
well,
just a
you've
CDM.
got
I think
McAllister
they're
to
going
do
for
that.
more deep line playmaker than they are CDM. That's the real thing. And this is the thing. I just to move it on. I mean, ultimately, the big money from Saudi Arabia is what's caused them problems because no one would have paid that type of sum for
No,
Henderson or Fabinho after the season Fabinho had last year. That's just forced their hand.
bit
Now,
of
what I don't
greediness.
understand is one thing I don't like is the hypocrisy of Klopp in this sense, in the sense that you're happy to take the good money from them and then you're going to complain their transfer window closes 3 weeks later. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah,
At the
yeah,
end of the day, you're happy to do deals with them because they're spending the money. Don't complain about when their transfer window closes. You don't have any control over that. You don't have any control over any
yeah.
international countries thingy transfer window, but that's FIFA's remit. So I just don't like that. But the other thing is, everyone's what the biggest problem. Thinking, oh, is the Saudi league going to be a threat to the Premier League? It's not. It's the worst news for the rest of Europe
Yeah.
because you look at the rest of Europe, they would pick up these other talents that the Premier wouldn't go for. And now, or they'd be in their desire not to help the Premier League too much with talent, they'd sell amongst each other.
Yeah.
What's happening is Saudi League is offering more than they would get from between themselves. So they're going and selling. You look at Brozovic, you look at all these other talents that are going. They wouldn't have come to the Premier. The Brozovic probably would have gone to another Italian. That's how they work. They
Yeah.
try and make sure they don't over strengthen the Premier League.
But I mean,
But
even if you
the
look at someone
Saudi,
like
is the whole of Europe.
even if you look at some of the youngsters even going, like you had like Ruben Neves go, Milankovic Savic go, you had Ibrahim Bamba go. There's loads going on, and it's only going to increase. I personally think as the year goes ahead, I think probably next year they're only going to increase and get more young talents in because they're already asking for young professionals that are playing in the second tier of, say, for instance, German league or wherever else come and join the second, third tier league because once they get that structure in, they're going to start adding the quality even more.
Yeah, and who is the guru behind the transfers is Michael Emanello, the guy who was in helped make Chelsea the best youth system,
Yep.
then done a lot of good work with Monaco. He ultimately is a scout in getting young talent in guy. He's not paying big bucks for the big name. So that's his, MO. That's how he does things. So the Saudi is going to go there. But my main thing is, all it really does is it ensures that Premier League will stay the strongest league in Europe because these are the players that would have gone to other European clubs are now going to the Saudi league. So
Yeah.
they're getting weaker, not necessarily the Premier League. Because Premier League are paying the type of transfer money that the Saudi league is willing to pay. So they're still getting big
But
players.
but
So Champions League is going to be, controlled by England, I think.
Well, I mean, next year, I do next year going in, there will be five teams from England because the coefficient they are first, and I think Spain is second. So Spain and England get one extra place. So next year, even though obviously you get the four that go through, there'll be an extra space for England. So whoever finishes fifth potentially, so they'll go into the Champions League draw because they've expanded the league to 32, I believe it is, or something. And that they've done that Super League style league system. But what I was also going to say is, with regards to Saudi, is there a bit of like a hypocrisy from the Premier League and all the media and a radio station, because they keep saying, oh, they're paying X amount of money, X amount of this and X amount of, well, if you look at it, Premier League are doing the same thing with two other leagues. So why is it such a big deal if Saudi does it or Saudi Arabian League does it? If FIFA allows it for them to have no financial fair play or whatever, or their continent allows for that, who the hell are you to control that?
Yeah, obviously, Premier League, their interest is what's best for their league and their club. So they will complain, they will moan. Ultimately, they can't really do much about the situation. So,
Exactly.
but I do think the whole narrative of is Saudi the threat to the Premier League? I just think that's the wrong
No.
narrative. They're a threat to the rest of Europe, bar the Premier League. Yeah, there will be a threat for audience, and because you can't help but want to watch the Saudi League now because they have got genuinely superstar players, and some of those squads, like we were saying, Al Hilal, you look at their attacking lineup, that's a dream team. Who would want to watch them play against another team?
Yeah.
The quality of the players they're signing is the issue here. They are signing real. You look at Brozovic. He was one of the main players, the best players for Inter in their Champions League run. He's
But
not
as much as you would watch that, I
uh,
don't think you'll watch it from the same kind
Linkovic
of
Savic.
affection and that passion as you would watch, say, for instance, something in the Premier League. I think that will still stay.
But,
But you will have a second subscription, say, for instance, with the Saudi Arabian
but at the end of the day,
broadcasters.
we're talking about in terms of abroad, the
Mhm.
fan base abroad. They will start gravitating more towards the Saudi league. Those broadcasters will be willing to pay money for those Saudi because of the profile of the players that they're getting. There's no way that some of these players have more fan base than clubs, and
I mean, Ronaldo's a prime example. They've got Neymar now. They tried getting Mbappe. Benzema's massive. You look at all the players they're getting, their statement.
yeah. So I
Everyone's a
think,
statement.
but just come back to obviously there is hypocrisy in that, but I think that's natural as well. They have to serve what's in the best interest of the Premier League, and obviously it's not in their interest to watch another league grow and become strong and potential rival in the future.
Can't compete. They can't compete with the Premier League, man.
Know the history of passion of the
It's too much. It's
place,
too much.
they will draw some attention
No,
away.
no, of course, 100%. It was a bit like even China when China tried it, but yeah, that fumbled down really quick.